Hi everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to draft and cut this beautiful corset blouse with an asymmetric hemline. It's a detailed tutorial and it's quite simple. And if this sounds like something you would like to learn, please stay to the end of the tutorial. So right here on the table, I have my pattern paper folded into two, and this is because it's an asymmetric blouse. So right now I'll go ahead and take all my measurements, that is the chest line, the bust point on the bust, waistline, and my blouse length. So I've gone ahead to connect each point with my straight ruler, and I will now label the lines. So I have the chest line, the bust line, the under bust, the half length for the front, and also the corset length for this pattern. So next, I'll take my shoulder measurement divided by 2 on both the shoulder line and my chest line, and I'll be connecting the 2 points with my ruler. The shoulder slope for the front is 1 inch, and the basic neckline I'm working with here is 3 inches. So I'll connect the 2 points together like so. Now from my bust point, I'll go up by 1 inch and mark that point. That's to get my bust bridge. And then I'll also take half-inch measurements on that 1 inch mark. I'll do the same on the under bust, that's half inch, and I'll be connecting the 2 points together with my ruler. On my bust point line, I'll go ahead and take my bust span measurement divided by 2, and then I'll mark it on that point. And I'll also repeat the same thing on the corset length. I'll take my bust span divided by 2 and also mark, and I'll be connecting the 2 points together with my ruler. Now for my under bust tightening, I'll be taking 2.25 inches. That's 1 inch will be taken towards the center front and 1.25 will be taken towards the side front. So I've gone ahead to do that. I'll repeat the same thing on the corset length, 1 inch towards the center front and 1.25 inches towards the side front. So I'll mark the 2 points like so, and then I'll connect from the under bust to my bust points. After connecting both lines, on the bust point, I'll come down by half an inch, and then from that half an inch mark, with my curved ruler, I'll be connecting from the bust point to the under bust on both sides of my pattern paper. That's on the center front and also on the side front. On the shoulder line, I'll be dividing that line into two to get the midpoint, and after getting the midpoint, I will mark it like so, and then I'll connect from the mid shoulder to my bust point using the straight ruler. Now having done that, the next thing I'll do is to get my over bust line, and from the chest line I'll be going up by 1.5 inches to get the line. So I'll make sure I get the 1.5 inches, and then I'll use my straight ruler to get the straight line. To tighten the over bust, I'll be taking a 0.75 inches on both sides. That's a total of 1.5. 0.75 to the right and 0.75 to the left, and then I'll connect from my over bust to the bust point. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side of my pattern paper, so I'll also connect it from the bust point to the over bust line. Now I'll through my darts by confirming the dart leg. I'll confirm that both legs are actually the same. They have the same measurement. So here I went ahead to check what I have towards the side front, and then I also checked towards the center front. So I have a little shortage there, and that is what I marked. To draw out my cup, I'll be connecting from the bust bridge, the half inch that we measured there. I'll connect it to the over bust like so using my curved ruler. And I'll also connect it from the under bust to the bust bridge. I'll also be using the curved ruler. So I ensure I have a very good curve at that point. And so once I'm satisfied with the shape, I'll go ahead and shape it into the bust bridge. Now I'll be taking my circumference measurement. So on the chest line, I will take my bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'll mark it. On the waistline, I will take my waist measurement divided by 4, and then I marked. I'll be snatching with half inch. So I deducted half inch from that measurement, and then I'll connect from the snatched waist to the bust measurement. Now for my bust dart, the difference between the front and the back is 2 inches. That's the front and the back length is 2 inches. So I'll take the 2 inches for my bust dart, and I'll connect from the side front to my bust point using the ruler, the straight ruler. For my armhole shaping, I'll go in by half inch on my mid armhole, and then I'll connect from the bust measurement on the chest line to the mid armhole, and from the mid armhole I'll connect straight to the shoulder slope. Now on the side front, on the chest line, I'll go in by 1.5 inches and mark that point. And I'll connect the 1.5 inches mark to the under bust. I'll use my curved ruler to connect from the 1.5 inches mark to the under bust. Now I will blend in the top part of my cup from the over bust into the chest line using my curved ruler. So this blouse goes beyond the corset blouse length. So I've gone ahead to add an additional pattern paper to where our pattern initially ends. So from the half length, I'll mark my hip line, 8.5 inches. I'll mark it like so. Now on the hip line, I will take my hip measurement divided by 4 and then mark that point, and also take the measurement we have for our dart, that's the underbust tightening, and also replace it on the hip line. So once that is done, I'll connect from the hip to the half length for the front using my curved ruler. I went ahead to extend my underbust tightening from the corset length. I extended it into the hip line like so. And now to transfer all my markings on this pattern paper to the other side of our pattern paper. Remember that this is on fold. So to transfer this marking, I went ahead to use my tracing wheel to trace out all the lines, all the points, our cup, every important lines that we have here. I traced it out. So after using the tracing wheel to mark out every lines and curve that we have on this pattern we just drafted, I went ahead to use my pencil to trace out what we have on the other side. So this is what we have on the other side of our pattern. After tracing, you can see the right side, the side we initially drafted, and then we have the other side which we just traced out. Now I'll slash through the shoulder line that we have there just to close up the bust darts on both sides of the pattern. So whatever I do on this side, I'll repeat on the other side, and I would then close up the bust dart. So I'll fold it like so and close up that dart. So I'll be doing the same thing on the other side of the pattern paper. I'll be doing the same thing. So after closing up my darts, after closing up my bust, I'll go ahead and then reconnect my cup on that side because they no longer meet after closing up the bust darts. So this is it. I would also be blending from the chest line into the waistline. So because of the bust darts, that part still does not align. So I'll go ahead and blend it in at that side. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side of our pattern paper. And now I've closed up the two darts, that's the bust darts on both sides of the pattern paper. We want to work on the asymmetric hemline now. So this part I placed my ruler is actually the hip line. So for clarity, let me label it. And now I'll be cutting out the patterns. So before cutting through the pattern, we need to actually draft the yoke, take out our yoke as well. So I extended that part of the pattern into the line coming from the shoulder line. And then we have it this way. I also marked that point. So from the chest line, I would extend that line that we have for the cup towards the line coming from, that's the darts we just transferred. I extend it like so and then also mark out the armhole. So what I am doing here is to draw out the yoke for this particular corset blouse. So this is our yoke for the front. Now I will cut it out and also cut out every other pattern on this draft. Here are all my pattern piece after cutting the yoke, the cup, and the corset bodies. Now we'll be working on the corset bodies, and to do that I would join my pattern papers together like so. I'll join them all together, the three parts that we have there. I'll join it together. So I'll mark my corset length so that we can understand what we are doing here. So this is my corset length, and we also have the hip line. So the hip line is the point where I am marking out at the moment. So here is what we have. I've joined the pattern papers together and I've marked the corset length and the hip line. So let's go ahead to shape out our asymmetric hem. So first I placed my curved ruler on this to get the shape for this particular point, and I came up from the corset length by 1 inch. I came up by 1 inch, And also on the hip line, I came down by about 1 inches. I marked 1 inch there. I marked it there. So I would try to balance my curve. So you don't necessarily have to work with the curve. You can use your free hand if your free hand is fine. But for me, I just want to make use of the curve as a guide. So here I think I'm a bit satisfied with what I have. So I marked that point. I flipped the curved ruler again and I tried to get a very good curve for the hem. So at this point I also marked it. I'm actually working with a pencil here because we might need to clean and redraw, clean and redraw. So that's why I said if your freehand, if you can use your freehand, it's also fine. So this is what I drew out initially, but then when I was connecting with the marker, I also still had a little alteration done at that point. So you notice what I am doing here. So I flipped the curved ruler over at this point and then I connected from the 1 inch which I marked initially into the curve coming from the corset length area. So this is it. But then I'll go ahead to cut out that part now. So this is it. I'm taking out the part we do not need for this pattern. So I'll cut it through into the 1 inch at that point. So after cutting through, I took out the paper and then I also trimmed this part like so. Now to have a better curve at the side, I took off a little part of the piece on that side, on the side front here. I took out a little and then I tried to shape it into our curve. So this is it and this is what it looks like. Now to work on the other side, I need to add up an extra pattern paper and this is what I'm doing here. I've gone ahead to add the paper. Now from the 1 inch that we actually shaped in earlier, I placed my tape rule at that 1 inch point and then from that 1 inch I'll come down by 10 inches. From that 1 inch I'll come down by 10 inches and then I'll mark it. So now I went ahead to check the extra inches that was added to the side because we did not stop at the hip line. We came down by about 0.6. So I would also come down on the other side by 0.6 and then I marked it at that point. So I'll connect from this 0.6 to the 10 inches which we marked earlier. And here is what we have after connecting the 2 points together. To get the slanty effect on the hem line of the corset blouse, I will take 1 inch at the hem, just like so. I'll mark 1 inch at that point, and I'll get my straight ruler and I will then connect from the 1 inch we marked at the hem line into the 1 inch above the corset length. We'll mark from the 1 inch at the hem line into the 1 inch above the corset length, and now I'll go ahead and then cut it out. So this is exactly how to get the slanty effect on the asymmetric hem line. Now for the back, I have my lines marked out. Thus I have the chest line and also the half length, that's the back half length, and then the hip line for the back. So I have all the lines marked already. So I also went ahead to take my shoulder divided by 2 and then my shoulder slope of 1 inch. I divided the line into 2. I took the neck width of 3 inches and then I'll be connecting from my neck width to my shoulder slope using the straight ruler just like so. So for the back armhole, I came in at the middle, at the mid armhole by 0.5 inches. On the chest line, I went ahead to take my bust measurement divided by 4 and then I'll connect the points together. That is the bust, the mid armhole, and then to the shoulder slope. On the half length, I'll take my waist divided by 4 and then I'll further snatch my waist by ½ inch, just the same thing I did for the front, which makes a total of 2 inches snatching on this pattern. So I'll go ahead to connect my snatched waist to the bust measurement on the chest line. Now on the hip line, I'll take my hip measurement divided by 4. I'll mark that point and then I'll connect from the hip to the waistline with my curved ruler, just like so. Now from the hip, that's from the side back, I'll come down by 0.6. Remember that on the front pattern we came down by 0.6, so I'll repeat the same thing here. I came down by 0.6 and from that point I'll connect to the hip and also connect to the center back. So here is me extending the line from the hip to the 0.6 inches. For my back opening, I did 1.5 on the chest line and 1 inch on the hip line. So I'll be connecting both points together like so, and this will be my new center back because we'll be taking out the part which I just marked. So I went ahead to mark the hem as well, and here is the part for the highlights. Now for the yoke, the back yoke, I'll be taking the front yoke, that's the pattern for the front, and then I'll measure what I have there, about 2.5 inches. And instead of taking the measurement, I just went ahead to place my front yoke on my back, and I'll mark whatever I have there. And then I also marked where the yoke for the front actually stops. So I marked that point on the back armhole. So I'll connect it from the armhole into the center back like so. For the back yoke, from the 2.5 inches we have at the shoulder, I'll connect it into our back like so, and I'll be taking out this part of the yoke. And after cutting out this part, this is exactly what we have for the back. Thank you all for watching today's tutorial. I'll see you all in my next tutorial. Bye.